Hello, everyone, and welcome to the final keynote session of ICA Vision 2020. I am Aziz Syed, President of the ICA, and I will be hosting this session. 2020 has witnessed seismic changes across the globe, and for the first time in many years, we are not able to meet in person at our annual trade event. But thanks to the power of technology and our passion for community, we have still been able to come together virtually and hear from some fantastic industry speakers. I'm thrilled to see over 400 people register for this event from across the globe. And I hope that you have all had a great experience so far. I have asked Bill Kingdon, a managing director, to describe what the ICA has been doing for you, whether you're a member or a potential member of the association. He'll describe the busy year that we have had and the initiatives that we have lined up for the betterment of the cotton community going forward. I believe that you'll feel that ICA is in good hands, managed with the interest of members at the forefront of all our minds, and continuing to focus on a preeminent responsibility, managing the international trading rules that have governed the cotton trade through this century and the preceding one. After Bill's remarks, there will be opportunity for questions. We look forward to hearing your questions and ideas and your thoughts. And please continue to engage with ICA, perhaps by making use of the new ICA app, which is now freely available for members and non-members alike. Over to you, Bill.
Mr. President, thank you very much for that introduction. Can I remind everybody, please do pose your questions if you wish using the Q&A button at the bottom of your screens, and continue the chat that's been such a feature of our conversation during this week using the chat function. It's after a range of skilled and distinguished speakers that have led such a stimulating program, it's with some trepidation and a great deal of humility that I add my voice to those more distinguished that have preceded me. But I wanted to do exactly as Aziz had described, which is to just go over what your association has done for you. 2020 has been surprising and tough for all of us. And as we look beyond this challenging year and all its associated uncertainty, its hardship and deprivation that's affected so many, it's worthwhile, I think, to remind ourselves of our core purpose as an association. That way, we're able to focus effectively and perhaps more accurately for the future. I'm sure, as most of you know, the ICA mission is to protect the legitimate interests of all those who trade cotton. Our goal is to promote safe trading and contribute to an international environment in which all our members and responsible companies have appropriate protections and feel safe to trade. And we do this by executing the following responsibilities. The first pillar means we're a community dedicated to safe trading in cotton and to mutual respect. Our network and exchange of ideas, such as through a trade event such as this, help facilitate that clarity of purpose, joint commitment and understanding. Next, as Aziz has mentioned, we manage the international trading framework. We promote equitable trade through the management of our bylaws and rules. I wanted to give you just a taster of some of the examples of things that have been under focus this year, because reviewing and updating those rules is such an important responsibility. We're constantly looking to address inconsistencies in the trading rules and keep pace with evolving norms. And I'll give you a taste of some of that focus later on in this presentation. Third, in cases of dispute between contractual parties, we provide a framework for dispute resolution. And in all of this, we recognize that our reputation is critical and it's based on integrity, impartiality, and trust. Important characteristics, I'm sure you agree, and not ones we take for granted from our members or the wider cotton community. I know if you're like me, you're looking beyond 2020 and hope to put some of these experiences we've had this year behind us, but it's perhaps easy to forget that at its start, most of us had never heard of coronavirus. Here are, from our perspective, just a few of the twists and turns that we've experienced during 2020. The year started with some optimism, but the continuing hardball transactional negotiations between the US and China in particular had impacted market confidence. They'd impacted prices and global demand, even before the virus had had any impact on our lives. If you use the level of applications for ICA arbitration as any sort of indicator, it's worth noting that probably up till around August, none of the arbitrations related to contracts impacted by the lockdown or the global demand slump in demand that followed COVID. But then it hit us, and the resulting slump in global demand for textiles, combined with that impact of restrictive measures across all our nations, it's been well covered by previous speakers. And for the ICA, it's impacted on the way we've had to adapt to change. None of our services was unaffected by this lockdown. The biggest example is we're not able to meet in person now, which is where we should be in Singapore and where we'd hoped to be. And we're delivering our first ever online trade event, mastering new techniques and supporting the global cotton community at a distance. We had to postpone Complete Cotton in 2020, where we'd look forward to getting young cotton professionals together in person. And we hope to do this again just as soon as conditions permit. So at this point, I want to perhaps lead a tribute to all the ICA management team who had to close the office quickly, responding to this strange new environment where we all work from home while maintaining a normal level of service without missing a beat. And in the middle of the year, the board took a look at the challenges we were facing at the time and the challenges ahead, and they were unanimous in their request for the officers of the ICA to stay on to provide consistency of leadership throughout 2020 and into 2021. So uniquely, we make that big call in the middle of the year. We also marked a big achievement in June. Dr. Robert Zhang, our Business Operations and Development Manager, who is known to many of you, celebrated 30 years of continual service to the cotton community in the ICA. This picture was taken at our daily morning meeting on the anniversary, and I wonder, can you tell which one is Robert? And he deserves another special mention at this point because it was his foresight and focus on business continuity that meant that we had the IT tools and the expertise to work remotely, and we'd practiced it before lockdown. He has truly enabled this transition. So very publicly, thank you, Robert. So having said a little bit about the context for the year, I want to describe what we've been doing to keep pace with the needs and demands of the industry and of you, our members. Here are just a few. We've reviewed sections of the bylaws and rules and the articles to ensure that the trade rules and processes are agile and appropriate. This year in particular, there's been focus on clarifying trade rules for weighing and sampling, just amongst many. We've developed and launched a new ICA app to enable better communication and engagement with members and non-members alike who use ICA services. And if you haven't done so already, please go onto the App Store and download it now and use it for networking with your fellow cotton professionals. We've also entered into a partnership with a new website service provider, and together we're developing a new website, and we're reviewing our online information, and we're also enabling access for a greater number of members and those who work for member firms to give better access to the people that we serve. Our Safe Trading Officer has conducted nearly 50 investigations over this year in support of safe trading, new member applications, and all the associated information that comes her way. And we're constantly looking for new sources of data about cotton trading internationally. And that's been a fantastic development over the year. Some awards have been settled, and some companies have been removed from our lists of unfulfilled awards, which is always a really promising and good sign. But on the other side of that scale, we have so far listed an additional 31 members on the list of unfulfilled awards part 1, where arbitral awards have not been settled and members have asked us to add them. And this usually leads to investigations into companies who are linked to those listed on part 1. And we've added 81 related companies to list 2. Now, clearly this imbalance between companies leaving and adding our default list makes me nervous. And it reflects the bad trading conditions probably and the swings in price that we've seen this year. But I know, we all know, it's not sustainable. So there's a direct link here now onto arbitration. Over the past 4 years, we've reviewed the outcomes from arbitration applications, and we find that in the large majority of cases, the dispute is resolved, or the parties are continuing to negotiate for an outcome that's acceptable to both parties, even after an application for arbitration is made. So far this year, we've had 103 arbitration applications and 1 completed appeal. So we've been busy, and John Gibson and his team, and supported by Lynn, have found the tempo really quick. But arbitration applications is really only one measure of how busy the management team is. Sometimes these cases are resolved before they come to tribunal. And we all do our best with the arbitrators to ensure that we keep open active arbitrations no higher than about 60 or 70. And that's where we are at the present, so that arbitrators and the tribunals can keep pace. We've had to adapt to paperless arbitration this year, and arbitrators and management team alike are trialing software that helps us to go paperless and to be able to conduct this important process without serving papers directly. Not only is this cheaper and more efficient, but we're doing a little bit for the environment too. Now, I'm particularly encouraged to see that membership has kept pretty well, has sustained well this year, despite the disruption to international trade and the challenges on all companies' finances. Merchants apart, nearly every membership category has held steady or shown a small rise for 2020. We've got 561 members, comprising 328 firms and 233 individuals, compared with 332 firms in 2019. And there has, as I've mentioned, there been some rationalization amongst merchants, and we've lost a couple of members from that category who've left the sector. Now, I'm sure all of you, if you were like me watching the presentation entitled "If Not Now, When?" yesterday, will see that we have a vibrant Women in Cotton group that's been a really important feature of the ICA during this year. Their LinkedIn group has 241 members, I think, not all of whom are women, but the vast majority. There's an e-newsletter and there's a Women in Cotton chat feature on the app. I'd like to highlight one important innovation that the Women in Cotton have brought in this year, which is the Chats for Change sessions. These meet by Zoom conference every 6 weeks, and we're now into their 5th session. There's a great dialogue, and they're advertised on social media and in the LinkedIn group. Please join the next one. Now, during the height of lockdown, we were at the heart of an initiative to bring together the ICA with the ITMF, representing the textile manufacturers, ICAC, representing governments, BCI, whose primary focus is the farm sector, and ICA, which comprises 18 mainly national cotton associations. And this group together developed a call for collaborative action. Based on the principles of mutual respect, integrity, and commitment to equitable trading for which the ICA was founded. The initiative encouraged all actors in the textile sector to look to the future resilience of the supply chain, to communicate and collaborate effectively, and search for imaginative and mutually beneficial solutions to shared challenges. This was well taken up by our members, but really its success or not will be measured in the coming years when the relationships that survive this period are on a less challenging economic path. Now, international constraints have stopped the President and me from traveling as we would have wished to do this year. In fact, we were just on the cusp of traveling to Pakistan, India, and Bangladesh when the restrictions hit hardest. And we've also, as I'd mentioned, have to postpone Complete Cotton. So communicating here and now, using the new app and through member notifications is more important than it's ever been before. We hope that we can both restore our travel plans as soon as possible, and our priority will be to get to those areas that we plan to visit in 2020 but have not been able to do so. Now, this is a snapshot of a group of energetic and enthusiastic young professionals building their network at Complete Cotton in 2019, and sadly we've postponed it this year, and next year too we're going to focus instead on developing online collaborative training that meets the needs of the industry, particularly focused on young professionals at the early stage of their careers in cotton. So some other areas that we're going to focus on in 2021. We're going to develop a code of conduct for the ICA community. There's a commitment to, forgive me, sorry, this is clearly on a transition. There's a commitment to communicate clearly to the cotton community the ICA position on carry charges and late delivery. We're going to conduct our first periodic accreditation of arbitrators, increase access to the ICA website, and encourage the use of the app. And we're going to maintain this really important joint venture with the Bremen Banvorbörse, ICA Bremen, for laboratory testing and other matters relating to cotton quality. This continues to provide a benchmark for instrument testing across the world and a focal point for cotton quality, which we're immensely proud. And this will continue. And linked to this, next year we intend to review whether the default for the ICA rules should be instrument testing for cotton quality unless otherwise specified, which would be a shift from the default at the moment, which is manual classing. Now, before finishing, I'd like to thank your directors for their commitment and support to the ICA. There are 24 members of our board, and of them, 5, the officers of the ICA, make a significant commitment to the community. The Finance and General Committee probably meets about 20 times a year, and they deal with many, many communications between those meetings. I also want to thank the many cotton professionals who give their time freely to join our committees and our working groups, particularly the chairs of those committees who carry a more demanding role than most. And also our 27 arbitrators. They make up the tribunals and commit so much to the industry. And of course, I pay tribute to my 11 colleagues in the management team who've adapted so well and cheerfully to focus on serving you, our members, whatever changes are thrown at them throughout the year. Now, it's our great hope that in a year's time, we will be able to meet again, as we plan to do this year, in Singapore. The dates are on the screen. My wish, and all of our wish, is to get together and share the stories about our experience during 2020, look with optimism and energy, and be able to do that networking for which the ICA is renowned in Singapore 2021. So I hope you'll sense that your association's been energetic and focused during 2020. It remains ambitious for the future. The directors, management team and members welcome your ideas in the areas on which we should focus for the future. And finally, it's been terrific to see, probably, if you add up each individual session, more than 800 people participating in this virtual trade event. And we look very much forward to seeing you all again in person in the coming year. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bill, for sharing those insights into what ICA has been up to over the last year. Under really challenging circumstances, as all of us have been facing. I think the management team has done an incredible job as we all retreated home and started working from home and facing those constraints and challenges. I think the management team has done a fabulous job in continuing to stay committed to the quality of service that ICA is typically accustomed to delivering to the members and the non-members. And I hope the members and the larger industry has not seen any drop in that quality of the service, and will continue to do so going forward. Looking at some of the questions that are coming through, Bill, there's Navid here. Thanks to ICA for putting on such a great meeting during difficult times. Thanks, Navid. Very well organized. Does ICA have plans to do more of these meetings while COVID still affects in-person meetings?
Well, absolutely, we hope to. And I hope that next time, even if we meet in person, that we can extend the reach of the trade event by broadcasting it live. But there's no doubt we've learned a lot about using these online techniques and putting together meetings. So yes, I think they've got to be a feature for the future, haven't they?
True. As well as probably you could share some insights into what we are certainly actively looking at as more online training modules for the industry and various aspects of the contract preparation, contract making, rules and arbitration processes, etc., which hopefully we will be able to launch in near future, which will be the online tools that will be available to the larger industry hopefully soon.
And actually, that's a great point, because we've begun a little bit of that. You will see in the arbitration section of the website a few information videos which are designed to cover some of the most frequent questions we get about the bylaws and rules and about the arbitration processes. And it's that principle, it's that approach that we want to broaden, such that the key questions that members have can be accessed through some videos or online training, which would be available at first just for members.
James Davi from USA also had the similar question. Does ICA plan to do more webinars like this? Very good for the industry. James, as you know, this is the first time we are conducting an event like this, and it's very heartening to see how well received it's been. And we'll certainly take that feedback on board and look to, explore possibilities of doing more such sessions. Another question on arbitration, Bill. Paperless arbitrations is a brilliant idea and has been well executed by ICA. What IT investments in ICA arbitration, a core part of the ICA mission, do you propose, bearing in mind the last presentation emphasis on the importance of IT and artificial intelligence in arbitration? Anonymous attendee. There are a couple of questions on similar lines in terms of IT investments in the area of arbitration to make it more seamless, smooth, and speed up the process.
Well, that's a great goal, isn't it? And we all share that goal to make the arbitration slick, effective, and respond to the needs of the community. And I'm not the expert on the detail here, but what I would say is I've noticed myself that the arbitrations are in many instances becoming more complex. Parties are bringing more and more data to the arbitration, which is actually making the task of each of our tribunal more complex. We delivered some training only I think 2 weeks ago about using tools to enable the management of complex documents to be managed electronically without printing. But there is no doubt that this is a part of our of the trade which is not getting simpler, getting perhaps slightly more litigious, and requires our arbitrators to be at the top of their game. And I don't think there are shortcuts that are possible to engaging with the detail which each party sends to the tribunal and ensuring that all the key documents are considered, all the factors are considered in arriving at a balanced decision.
Thank you, Bill. Few other questions. There were a couple of questions on ICA Aspire from Henry D. Will the ICA Aspire category have any training online? Considering to join this category. That's heartening to know, Henry, and I strongly encourage you to do that. And it'll be great for networking, which is always valuable for all sectors. Networking with the board and other members too would be welcome. So is there any training, online training that's being planned for ICA Aspire?
Well, I'm glad to say, yes, there is. Our focus, instead of complete cotton in 2021, is going to be on developing some online training with candidates for ICA Aspire right at the heart of our target audience. But you put your finger on it in the question there, because one of the key benefits that we hope to get out of ICA Aspire is the networking, as well as the industry knowledge and the opportunity to develop leadership opportunities. And so finding that balance that allows us to achieve an effective networking whilst working remotely is the key. So we've got some ideas about how to do that, and I hope you'll be part of the test bed of this in the second quarter of 2021. But yeah, your idea there is right at the heart of what we're very much hoping to achieve.
The next question, Bill, is How does ICA encourage more of the international members and new players to become actively involved with the ICA? Do you plan to include? Do you plan including hosting a range of open forum sessions at key international locations or webinars?
Yes. So what to say? There are a number of opportunities developing, and the example that we're so enthused about at the moment is the Women in Cotton group. This is not to say our focus is just on women, but this group has launched, as you've heard, this year, and is now planning to have sessions which are on either side of the globe, such that the time differential is better catered for. We would love to hold seminars in different major cities, in different hubs around the world. Realistically, I'm constrained to a small team that's all based in Liverpool. So we need partners in any candidate region or city in order to enable that. But that is exactly the right idea. And if any recommendations and suggestions of your local organization being willing to partner with us to establish a webinar that's focused, for example, in the subcontinent or in Eastern Asia or in South America, then we would love to hear about it. And we will do our utmost within our resources to support that.
Thank you. Just to be clear, is the Complete Cotton Young Professional Program still happening next year? If so, would it be online or in person?
The Complete Cotton course is not running in 2021. We're sad to report, but I think you'll all appreciate the reasons why that is. Travel constraints clearly prevent people coming as things exist today, and we cannot be sure that we can predict with suitable clarity what it will be like in April of next year. And the character of Complete Cotton is about relationships, building knowledge, understanding relationships that we have thought about deeply and we believe is best done face to face. So we're not going to try and run a Complete Cotton light. We're going to run training events designed at a similar audience, which are online, but it's not Complete Cotton. We hope that people who do those will still come and join the next Complete Cotton that we're able to run. So Complete Cotton's off, but our effort of focus will be on online training, but there's no substitute. Our belief is there's no substitute for getting together in person, understanding each other face to face, sharing ideas, exploring our likes, our dislikes, our dreams and our fears together in a way which we haven't yet found a way of replicating online.
Thank you. There's a question regarding how to become an arbitrator. I understand from ICA website that there is an exam for arbitrator. One can appear exam by self-study. If one is pursuing studies for other commodities, can also get any consideration and represent as ICA arbitrator as well.
Yes, the path to being an ICA arbitrator is available on our website. John Gibson and Lynn Thomas too would be delighted to take it through in detail. There are 4 exam steps, to be honest, in this journey, and as well as the requirement to complete 4 exams, there is the association stipulates 5 years experience in cotton. So if you have that experience and you study to get through these exams, then we absolutely welcome applicants to become ICA arbitrators. We are always looking to broaden that pool of arbitrators and encourage people to do that.
Bill, I think the question was also about if somebody is studying to qualify as an arbitrator in other commodities, would that be a qualification enough to become an arbitrator with ICA, or would they need to essentially go through all the 4 modules?
I think that question probably needs to be answered in detail. The 2 of the exams, one of them is about, well, first point is, of course, arbitration under ICA rules is governed under English law. And so the Sale of Goods Act under English law and the Arbitration Act under English law are 2 of the focus areas of exams. So if your study as an arbitrator includes those 2 features, you will find that you are studying exactly the same stuff. But there is a requirement to demonstrate knowledge of those specific areas and competence in understanding English law as it pertains to arbitration.
Thanks, Bill. Now, brace yourself for this one. With so many instances of delayed, late shipments, need of the hour is to include a reverse carry in ICA contracts as standard. What is ICA's thoughts on this? Anonymous attendee.
Sorry, an anonymous attendee.
Anonymous.
It's a very pertinent question, of course, because only earlier this week we had, this week as well as the virtual trade event has seen the board meet extensively on 2 sessions, a strategy meeting right at the start of the week, which looked at late action and rolled up their sleeves and argued and debated this matter. So it is an area which the board of directors is aware of and is engaged with. And I think the Spinners Committee of the ICA is representing the point of view which your question implies, and is doing that with energy and doing it well. And there is an absolute commitment to communicate more clearly by the ICA, both to members and to the wider community, what the rules actually are today with respect to, for example, carrying charge, which, as you imply, is not covered in the ICA bylaws and rules. That may not be a question that meets your desires, but it's a summary, I think, of where the association is.
Thanks, Bill. I mean, just to add a clarification to that, there is a popular industry misconception that carry charges, which appear in most ICA contracts, perhaps, are governed by ICA rules framed for them. The reality is there are no rules under ICA rules and bylaws which currently govern carry charges, and consequently, there are no rules pertaining to reverse carry as well. So the board does recognize the need to communicate effectively enough to clarify this misconception, which will be done soon in the form of a communique. But this is a matter which the board is cognizant of. The Spinners Committee is working on this. It is a priority item, and the board spent a lot of time in the last strategy meeting. They were debating and discussing this, and we're indeed looking at how best to address it through effective communication and removing those misconceptions. Because as things stand, carry charges or reverse carry charges are a matter of a private negotiation between the buyer and seller, and they're not really ruled. They're not really governed by ICA rules at this point of time. Okay, collaboration. This is from Andy. Given the level of contract defaults during 2019 and 2020, realistically, how successful do you actually think this initiative was?
I suspect there are many people on this call much better qualified to answer that question than I am. What I would say is, from my conversations across the industry and across international boundaries, there was a great deal of understanding shown during the middle of this year. Contracts were renegotiated, timelines were altered. consideration was shown to splitting deliveries. There were many steps taken in probably just about every contract to meet the needs of both sides of the contract. But as I hinted at, I mean, the relationship between buyer and seller is critical to a resilient supply chain going forward, and it's probably too soon to say what impact the events of 2020 have had on the supply chain taken as a whole and on those relationships. And of course, you know better than I that the ICA's focus and the bylaws and rules which we are responsible for don't govern the entire textile chain, but they reach only from the producer as far as a spinner. And then all the finishing, the producing and finishing and retail and import sectors are uncovered and don't have protection from rules in the same way, and don't have the same contract protection probably either. So it's a fantastically complex supply chain, and our contribution to it could really only reach across the areas for which we have responsibility. Speaking personally, I believe it contributed positively, but it was not able to resolve a really difficult position for so many consumers around the world.
Thank you. Another question on arbitrators. What is the breakdown of experience of 27 arbitrators? How many spinners?
Two spinners amongst the number, to be frank with you, as far as I'm aware, and I don't know if John's able to leap up and add to that. I'm pretty certain we have two, but as I say, this is we are always encouraging experts from the consuming markets to develop their understanding of bylaws and rules, to get involved with the ICA, to train as arbitrators and join the ranks. It's not because we do not encourage a greater number of consumers to become arbitrators. We would love there to be more.
That's true. I'd love to see really more spinners stepping forward and taking the arbitrator tests and qualifying themselves to become arbitrators. I really look forward to a time when we have a lot more spinners on our arbitrators panel. All right. Okay. Now, another question. Do you believe the online world will redefine amount of traveling around in the business world? Daniel Santana.
It's certainly impacted this year, hasn't it? I don't know. Your prediction is every bit as good as mine. But what we're definitely finding is that we are finding ways to conduct business, to liaise with one another, to develop, to manage programs and change programs remotely, which we never dreamt possible. So it should be possible to do less, shouldn't it? But there's no substitute actually for meeting face to face, for that understanding that comes from greater that understanding comes from knowing people better and appreciating the differences of perspective by being closer to their own shoes.
The last two questions, as they appear on the screen, I think both are related. Bill, is there funding for the commodity management? I presume the question is about the commodity management program. And related, is there funding for the cotton course? I presume both of them pertain to the same commodity management program.
Right. Yes, the commodity management program, which we call the Professional Certificate in Commodity Management, we ran it from start to finish twice, and I think we learned a lot from doing that. But we also found that there wasn't a massive take up. The market of interested people was really quite small, and most of them stuck their toe in it. So we're not planning to repeat that because we have found that there is really quite limited demand for it. But we do want to adapt perhaps shorter training programs, training that can be delivered remotely and perhaps through the association rather than through a university, because it's easier and we have more control over it going forward. So we've learned a great deal from it, but I think the short answer to your question is we have no plans to repeat that program because we have found that the demand for it was insufficient to make that worthwhile.
Along the same lines, Bill, is there funding for Complete Cotton or ICA Aspire?
Yes. There's no shortage of, it is not funding that's preventing us from running Complete Cotton in 2021. It's our inability to be confident that we can deliver it within the constraints of remote training and perhaps people's reluctance to travel at that time. So yes, we're absolutely committed to delivering networking opportunities and training for people in the early stages of their cotton career to the best of our ability.
Sorry, Bill, I think that question is more geared towards, is there funding for participation? Like,
I see, subsidized.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm afraid we just aren't geared up to, we are not geared up to sponsor individual candidates to come to Complete Cotton at the moment. That is not something that we have looked at. But if you believe that there is a specific need for you and people in your region to do that, then each of your regions is represented by a director for that region. And not knowing where in the world you're based, I would ask your regional director to look at this question. And if there is no reason why one or two places could not be sponsored if the industry believed there was sufficient need and this was a priority for the use of the association's resources. But we don't have a program to do that at the moment.
Right. The Federation of Commodity Associations look to the ICA as market leaders in international commodity arbitration. Is this true?
John tells me it is. He's my head of arbitration. Yes, there's no doubt. I mean, so I join with my colleagues on the Federation of Commodity Associations, and with one other, we're undoubtedly the kind of market leaders for commodity arbitration. There is another that has a greater throughput. I think that the tasks and the arbitrations they deal with are they have more, they're more samey, right? There's less diversity of challenges probably in the arbitrations they're dealing with. So yeah, we're pretty confident that we keep pace with the best of them.
All right, we've got 10 minutes. Could probably take the last two questions. Hello, is there any rule in ICA which gives an award to the buyer due to taking wrong advantage of contract price reduction for afloat shipment? I don't know. I don't know how we're going to answer that. I mean, that's pretty complex. I would recommend that you consult one of the arbitrators on the arbitration panel or one of the consultants as recommended on our website, who would be able to guide you better on that, because unless the circumstances are known or the antecedents of the case, a particular case or incident you're referring to is known, it's very difficult to advise on that. So again, on arbitrations for quality claims, we have ICA VDC to follow. Value differences. We appreciate it's improved a lot last few years. we assume ICA VDC is for unintentional quality matters. Sometimes in cotton trading, we encounter deliberate wrong quality delivery by supplier to make extra profit. Is there any possibility to take any measures to prevent deliberate wrong quality delivery? This is from Imran from Atlas Cotton in Bangladesh.
Imran, yes, the Value Differences Committee and the circular that you describe is an important development, isn't it, in the last 2 or 3 years of the ICA. And those value differences make no judgment on whether it was deliberate, accidental, or what the cause was. If you have contracted to buy cotton of a quality and a different quality is shipped, then you have a quality claim. It's as simple as that. And the Value Difference Circular gives you guidance on how that that value difference will be calculated. So really intentional, unintentional, it's the same in all ICA arbitrations. The intent, the rules are not intended to find fault. The rules are intended to return the participants to a contract to the position they would have been if the contract had been fulfilled. And this applies equally to quality as it does to technical arbitration. So yeah, if there's a difference in quality between what you receive and what you contracted to receive, you have a claim.
Right. Last question, Bill. Can a non-member become an ICA arbitrator?
No, that's pretty quick. So the requirements to be an ICA arbitrator, as well as having expertise in cotton, is to be an individual member of the ICA, because you are, that person is issuing or partaking in tribunals who together issue arbitral awards in the name of the association. And it's our responsibility to make sure that the people who do that on behalf of the association are suitably accredited, complete their continual professional development, and understand the ethos and the principles of the ICA and its bylaws and rules. So yeah, you have to be a member.
Thank you, Bill, for your presentation today and for patiently taking all those questions. Thank you to everyone who have participated in this session and who have attended this virtual event. Despite the uncertainty of 2020 and limitations on travel, it's been fantastic to see so many still coming together at the annual event. The next item on our agenda is the annual general meeting, which starts at 14:45 GMT. This is for all ICA members and employees of ICA member firms. All the voting has already been completed, and at the AGM, you will be able to hear a brief summary of ICA's decisions at the year end. Finally, I really look forward to seeing you all in person next year at the ICA trade event scheduled in Singapore on 27th and 28th of October 2021. Hopefully, by then we'll be able to look back at this traumatic year with a smile and look forward to better times. Meanwhile, stay safe, stay healthy, and goodbye.
Thank you.